asking people not to film faces.
Okay, well, you got a mask. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to get your faces. I mean, this is still America.
Okay.
I'm a patient, as you see. Anyway.
I don't think these people are consented to have consented being filmed.
Well, that's all right. We're in an open space, so public space.
Chicago is a two-party consent state or
yeah,
city.
but
so.
when it's an open space, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I mean, they could get. Listen, if they don't want, you could have the University of Chicago police come and tell me that, and I'll surely listen. All right.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, you are being filmed right now. If you would like to cover up, please mask up. You are being filmed right now. You are being filmed and listened to right now.
I mean, don't you guys want people to see what you're protesting about?
We just don't want our faces around.
But why not? Don't you stand up for what you believe in?
We do.
Well, then,
but we don't consent. We just don't consent.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to be combative. I'm not trying to be combative. But
me neither.
if you have a like when I go and do things, I don't wear a mask because I want people to know what I stand and what I represent.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And so I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, there's two sides to the story, and I'm trying to get both sides.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's just like really pretty aggressive, honestly.
Taking a video is aggressive?
It is. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we want our privacy too, you know?
Well, why you how could you, on one hand, say you want your privacy, but on the other hand, you're protesting and, bringing out your voices for a certain, for Palestine, and you don't want to, you want privacy.
Yeah, we're honestly, like, for me personally, like, I try to demonstrate a surveillance-free, like, alternative life here in this camp, where we can live comfortably without the risk of everyone always watching or listening to everything that we do.
Well, that's a different topic that I agree with.
Yeah, and so in order for us to demonstrate...
But when you're trying to demonstrate and get a message out there, usually you want people to see it. That's the reason you're demonstrating.
Well, because of people that disagree and are trying to
I didn't go to like a nice school. I only went to Elmer's College, so I'm not that smart.
It's not about. I'm
joking.
And I agree that you Chicago people can certainly be like snobby, and you are being filmed right now. Just so you know, you are being filmed right now. You are being filmed right now. You are being filmed right now, so you know. Okay, thank you so much.
I'm not doing anything aggressive.
Right now, so you know.
I got my own escort. Thank you.
Yeah, we're just trying to watch out for people who don't want to get filmed.
How are you? Hey, would any of you be willing to talk to me about your protest?
Yeah.
You're in a meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I connect you with someone who might be
Yes, please.
Talking to you?
Yeah.
Talking.
Oh, this looks like a teacher, maybe. Would any of you be willing to talk to me about the protest? I'm here peacefully.
Let me find a media person.
No?
Yeah, I think that there's probably a media person.
Yeah, I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking
Sure.
for. Let me look for the media person. Is there a media person on site or someone willing to talk to someone who have questions about this the encampment?
We talked earlier about
okay.
how safe it feels.
Now I'm trying to get the students' perspective.
As I said, I don't know.
Anyone willing to talk to this person about the encampment? I can't right now.
No?
You are being filmed right now, by the way, so you know. So everyone knows. Is anyone willing to talk to this person? A media trained person, perhaps? A person who would like more information.
I just want to know why, so there's two sides to this story, right? The support of Palestine,
Just hold tight.
support of Israel.
Being filmed right now, actively right
I mean,
now.
in the sense that there's two sides of desegregation. I mean, there's the segregationists and the desegregationists.
Correct.
So yeah, there's different parties, so to speak, but not a moral parity or symmetry.
You're saying there's an immoral difference between supporting Israel and Palestine?
Yes, it depends how you're defining the terms, but if you're talking about supporting
You got to remember, like, I'm a Southwest Side dumb Italian guy, so you got to talk in like
I'm Italian
lower
too,
terms.
actually, believe it or not.
Talk in lower terms for me. So explain what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, if you're talking about either the regime of apartheid to which the state of Israel has subjected Palestinians from the river to the sea for more than half a century, or if you're talking about the current genocidal campaign that it is waging against especially the Palestinians.
So would you define genocide for me?
Sure. It's acts committed with an intent to destroy a national, religious, or ethnic group in whole or in part. And there's a very...
So do you think that the Israelis are really trying to destroy all of Palestine, or are they trying to go after those who attacked them, the Hamas folks? And then from the perspective of Hamas being purposely embedding themselves, like say if we were at war here and American soldiers came and embedded themselves with you guys here, right? And we were being attacked by somebody else that we attacked.
Right.
Well, how would you consider that?
The embedding themselves thing is a little bit complicated because it's more the case that Gaza is a ghetto that Israel has sealed the borders of, either directly in all the parts it controls or indirectly through collaboration with the Egyptian regime that was installed by coup. So the borders are completely surrounded, so the Palestinians are packed like sardines, 2.3 million of them, into a strip of land that's as long as a marathon and 6 miles wide. In that situation, there is no such thing as not being embedded if you're in any way fighting to defend your people against the genocidal onslaught. If the allegation is specifically that any Palestinian faction or resistance group has used Palestinians as shields in a coercive way, this is a question you can read reports. There's been investigations done after the 2008 assault, 2014 assault by Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, the Israeli Human Rights Monitor, the Goldstone Commission. The conclusion in every single one of these reports is that there is no evidence that Hamas or any Palestinian faction is deliberately using Palestinians as human shields, even as they are operating, given the constraints I described, in proximity to Palestinian civilians, though there has been evidence in each of those reports that Israel has at times used Palestinians as human shields.
Where was that?
So it happened.
Where was that evidence from? I'm hearing the other, and I know a lot of my friends were in the military, and when they were over in Iraq, they were using the Americans were trying to save innocent civilians, while at the same time the ISIS terrorists were using shields of the people in the community, and a number of friends had a heart. I had a friend that one of his buddies got killed. They thought it was a civilian, and they were dressed up and embedded within the civilian population. And then another question for you is, after October 7th, right, after what happened to Israel, what if you had the authority, what would you have done in response to what happened on October 7th?
The authority of who?
If you had the authority in Israel, and you were in charge.
Of Israel?
Yeah, and then you were attacked like that on October 7th, what would be your response to defend your people and some of the atrocities that occurred on October 7th?
Okay, so part of the problem, I promise I will answer your question directly, but I do need to give a context for how I answer it. The context is that the story does not start on October 7th because the war is not starting on October 7th. The war is ongoing against the people of Gaza, especially for almost 2 decades before October 7th. When they were placed under military siege, blockade, basic foods, goods, medicines were denied entry into the Strip on a regular basis. People were denied access to leave even to the West Bank to get life-saving medical treatment, and periodically there were operations that the Israeli military described as mowing the lawn, meaning every now and then when the Palestinians act up in Gaza, you keep them down by subjecting them to aerial bombardment. Each of these operations, about 60 to 80% of the people killed are civilians, thousands of homes destroyed, and so forth. So if you're a Palestinian then who's say 20 years old, you've lived through 5 large-scale high-tech massacres, as well as a nonviolent protest movement in 2018, 2019, the Great March of Return, which is every Friday there would be a nonviolent protest. The response to this was Israeli snipers opening fire. You can read again. UN reports about this, other reports about this. They injured more than 30,000 people. They killed more than 250 people. They sniped medics, Muslims on prayer mats, people in wheelchairs, children, etc. Only one soldier had a slap on the wrist. So my point is, this is the background.
Okay.
So when you get to October 7th, you say, what do you do? What you first have to, same as 9/11 or any type of situation like this, the first thing you need to ask is, what is the root of the violence that we just got hit with? Because if you're not addressing the root and you're just trying to address the symptom, it is very likely that you're actually going to aggravate the root in a way that generates further violence for yourself and as well as for the people that you're inflicting on. So I would try to get to the root of the violence and see if it has it. Now, I grant that there are in some rare cases, say Nazis, ISIS, probably, groups that are so outside of the spectrum of political demands that there's no way of negotiating. You can't negotiate with Hitler, you can't negotiate with ISIS. I agree with that. Hamas, not the same story. They have a very clearly defined political agenda.
But they want to get rid of Israel's, the whole state
that.
of Israel,
We'll get
river
to
to the
that.
sea and all that
That's
stuff.
actually
right?
not their position. I mean, I don't doubt that many people in the movement would like to see that, but that's not the position of the party. So in 2005-06, for example, they signed a Palestinian prisoners document, which was signed by every Palestinian faction: the National Initiative, Fatah,
I got a little
Islamic
crowd
Jihad,
here.
Hamas, all of them. Okay. PFLP, and that statement explicitly said that if there's an end to the illegal occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, which is about 20% of historic Palestine, and a state established, essentially there will be an acceptance of a two-state settlement, with Israel remaining an entity on 80% of historic Palestine. So that is their political position. Now, if you want to quibble over, well, would they really accept it? You have to get. If I'm thinking seriously about this, say I don't even imagine that I'm an Israeli and I don't even care about Palestinians. They're not even part of my moral calculus. I'm only thinking about what's good for Israeli Jews. That's all that matters to me. Even on that basis alone, what Israel is doing and has been doing for 76 years is a disastrously stupid idea, because you cannot cram people into ghettos. You cannot impose.
So are you saying it's Israel's fault for the entire situation that led to?
I'm saying that the root of all political violence in that land has been the Zionist project before the state of Israel created itself and then was retroactively recognized, and the state of Israel since it has existed.
Another question for you: like, who was the original? Like we talk about it, indigenous people here in the United States, right? The Indians. Who was the indigenous people of the Palestinian territory?
It would be the Palestinian, Arab, Muslims, Christians, and Jews who were there for centuries before colonization. I mean, the term indigenous, I think there's some confusion about the way people use it. Like dictionary definition is the population that had a continuous presence prior to a colonial encounter. So it doesn't mean anybody that has some connection thousands of years ago or something. And it's not to deny the importance culturally, religiously, whatever, historically, that people might feel for a certain land. But indigeneity is a term that relates to a colonial encounter. The colonial encounter starts with the Zionist political movement, which was started not by, and was actually opposed for some time by a lot of indigenous Palestinian Jews, but that was a European Jewish project responding to genuine European anti-Semitic antagonism, as well as embracing a lot of European ethno-nationalist ideology, and then trying to figure out a solution to the problem that they were facing in Europe by partnering with the British Empire to create a colonial project in Palestine. That is the root of the situation. So if you want it like an origin point, I would say it's there.
Okay, one last question. So I'm not here to be confrontational. I'm trying to get, because a lot of people are watching, and so with respect to what happened, some of the atrocities on October 7th, are you saying that they're justified because of things that happened prior to that, so it's okay for Hamas? I mean, what is your view on what happened to some of these innocent people? Forget about what happened before and saying, two wrongs. What is your view?
No, any atrocity against an innocent person is not something I defend. What I have a problem with is not, and frankly, I encountered very few people, and I know quite a few, who are celebrating if a child or a person, a defenseless teenager at a festival or something is killed. I don't know anybody who celebrated that. I think that the problem that a lot of people in this camp would have is with the way that the narrative is framed around exceptional outrage only for these individuals, while completely ignored is the tens and tens and tens of thousands of Palestinians tortured in Israeli prison, sexually assaulted in Israeli prison, sniped by Israeli soldiers, humiliated, forced to give birth.
So you agree the
chaplains.
atrocities on both sides are not acceptable?
No atrocity against any defenseless person is acceptable, and absolutely that applies to Hamas. It applies to any other. I'm no fan of Hamas, and I don't know anyone who is, except insofar as, like what they're doing right now, for example, in the present situation, anybody who is picking up a gun in Gaza to fight off a genocidal onslaught has my support as they're doing that. But that's very different from saying I'm a fan of their ideology or that they commit no crimes. And during the Second Intifada, the crimes were actually, I think, in some ways,
one last question. Sorry, I keep coming up with different questions here. So, they're all confined in Gaza, and it's a terrible situation for the people who live there, right? What about all the other countries surrounding there? Why aren't they accepting those people in to help save them while this conflict goes on and leaves Hamas there while the battle between Hamas and the Israeli soldiers persists.
But it's not a battle between Hamas and the Israeli soldiers. So first of all, every single Palestinian faction in Gaza, granted it's a small territory, but there's multiple factions, all of them are united in fighting off the genocidal assault. And all of the Palestinian people, broadly speaking, yes, some are trying to evacuate for safety concerns, but this is a war on the Palestinian people who, for example, Smotrich, Israel's finance minister, and a very influential person in the settler movement, has said Gaza is a population of 2 million Nazis. Benjamin Netanyahu, this means the civilians, the children, are included in the Nazi category. They say we're fighting Hamas, but then they define Hamas to mean every single man, woman, child, infant in the territory, which is why Netanyahu said this is a war against Amalek. If you're familiar with the Hebrew Bible.
What's your major? I'm curious.
Is it literature and religion?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Amalek is a very there's a reference that catches quickly in Israeli society. It's a reference to the Hebrew Bible, a tribe that had aggressed in some way upon the ancient Israelites as they're roaming.
Yeah.
And so the command is given: leave no man, woman, child, infant breathing, and in fact, don't even leave the oxen breathing, lest anyone later say, "Who did this belong to?" and someone remembers the name Amalek. So he says, "This is a war against Amalek." Then you have videos of soldiers chanting, "Remember our slogan, wipe out the seed of Amalek, there are no innocent civilians." It is being understood through the chain of command as a total war of annihilation against the population of Gaza. So that's one part of the answer. The other part, if you're talking about why don't surrounding countries take them in, what you are saying, in effect, it sounds to me like, is why don't other Arab countries collaborate with a mass ethnic cleansing as a means of preventing a mass extermination? Now, a mass ethnic cleansing is, I suppose, less terrible than a mass extermination. Both are hideous crimes, and there is no basis whatsoever if the idea is Israel, wink, wink, will let them back in afterward.
But isn't it two different issues? Like,
75 years ago, and they won't let them
if
back.
saving life is more important, I mean, we're supposedly accepting, millions of asylum seekers, right, to come here to protect themselves into our country, and coming in, through whatever means possible, right, for violence and all these other things that are occurring in their country. America's taking all these people in. So I don't understand why, if all this violence being done by supposedly by the Israeli soldiers, and they're not, the people of Gaza are not being used as shields and all those things, why wouldn't first preserving life come as a priority, and then worry about addressing the other things afterwards if you want to save children and women and so forth?
Well, because two things I would say. One is, I think it's very true that, for example, part of how Hitler was able to get so far along in his final solution program was because European states, and even the US, refused in significant part to accept Jewish refugees. That's a terrible stain on us. Even FDR shipped like 11,000 Jews back to Hitler rather than admitting them. So definitely, it was wrong that we were unwilling to do that. But that does not make it the case that if we had the power to disarm Hitler, that would not be the better move than allowing Hitler to mass expel European Jewry and keep giving Hitler weapons, which is the situation that we're sort of talking about. Because it's our government, even Israel's defense minister has said we can't carry this operation on for a week without U.S. provision of weaponry. It's completely dependent on the U.S. So in that situation, am I going to call for states that I have no say over, like other Arab states, Egypt or something, to take in refugees that will then probably be forever barred from returning to their land? Or am I going to call for my government, which I do have some agency over, to stop giving weapons?
Do you think that's the reason Egypt's not doing this? Because they're worried about them not being able to go back, or they just don't want to do it?
Well,
I mean, do you think that's the true? I could understand why your perspective on that, right? Why you're telling me that as a justification not to relocate them, but do you think that's really Egypt's reasoning? Is that
government?
Why would?
Sisi is an asshole. I have no idea what his motives are. If you're talking about the government, but I mean we're back to the sort of stupidity of the Israeli strategy thing here, because the proposal that Israel initially was working on was, okay, we'll just expel all of the Palestinians from Gaza into the Egyptian Sinai. Again, pretend you don't even care about Palestinian life. That's not even a moral factor in the equation, just from a strategy perspective. Okay, so now you have 2 million people who are, of course, furious with you, because after they've already been expelled, crammed into the Gaza ghetto, massacred periodically, now they've been expelled again, many of their people exterminated on the way out, and now they're sitting on Israel's southern border, much larger, much easier to get weapons to. What do you think is going to happen? Like, this is Israel's grand plan for avoiding another October 7th? is expelling people for the 4th time or something onto a massive border where it's easier for them to get weapons.
Yeah, so there's one thing that I agree with you that you didn't mention is I don't know how they were able to get in October 7th without the, they're supposed to be the best military in the world. That's one thing I question. I'm obviously on the other side of this debate, but one thing that I do question is how this powerful intelligence organization had no clue guys were flying in gliders and all this other stuff, which is the one big question that I have personally, even though I'm on the other side of the debate.
I mean, I think that they really thought that they had their strategy of periodic massacres had humiliated, degraded, dispirited Gaza to the point that it could just be ignored, left to sort of languish in perpetuity while Israel carried on colonizing the West Bank, which it cares much more about. And the ghetto just stays crammed, the population grows, but periodically we, mow the lawn, take some people out of the picture. And I think that they really just didn't think it was a serious situation, and they were wrong. And they had advance warning also about that.
Well, I thank you for. I'm not here to be confrontational. I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side. I think you got that. But if we don't talk, things get worse, and that's why I'm out here.
From a bit far away,
No.
so you don't get people's faces.
It's all right. I'll do this on the way out, and then I'll leave.
No faces, please.
I think most of them are masked.
It doesn't matter.
I'm
Even if you aren't masked, and we've asked you nicely, please.
Jeez. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm leaving. I don't understand, because if I'm leaving, I'll see you later. I don't understand. You have a cause that you're standing up for, and then you don't want to be filmed.
I'm asking that most people here don't want to be filmed. That's
But-
that
no,
you
but
need
I-
to get consent.
What I don't understand is if you're trying to push a cause and get your story out, just like I did interviewing him.
That's
why,
great.
Why hide?
Because there are a lot of people with bad faith. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Oh, okay.
Trying to avoid students getting jobs.
Excuse me. Whoop. See you guys later. I'm trying to go past you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything?
No, thank you.
What do you teach here? Or like,
Thank you.
you don't.